So this is our first recorded lecture wherein I'll discuss the philosophical perspectives of Plato, Aristotle, Descartes, and Locke. So first is Plato. So he was famous in his dictum that the self is an immortal soul, same with his mentor. So he was the prize student of Socrates and the founder of Academy in Athens. He was one of the philosophers who acknowledged the presence and existence of hereditary factors. So he advocated the presence of innate faculty which is inherent in every man at the time of birth. So he believed that we have all of us have the innate potentials and capacities and we have to discover it to develop our self. The development of the self began with the understanding that these hereditary capacities will help us in self-discovery and personal development. Same with Socrates, he believed that the self is synonymous to the soul, which is immortal. The soul will reach its potential as humans grow and develop. Likewise, he believed that our existence is a lifelong learning, in which if we study, we will know something, and the more we learn, the more we realize. Moreover, Plato believed that the self is said to be constituted of the reason, physical, and emotional part of the self. The rational soul is considered to be superior compared with the physical and the spiritual soul. So it is located in the head. So being located in the head, the rational soul enables the human to think, reflect, analyze, and do other cognitive function. The functions. The spiritual soul or the spirit and passion, on the other hand, is located in the chest. So somehow we can associate the heart for the component of the spiritual soul. So it enables the person to experience different emotional feelings such as happiness, joy, sadness. So both positive and negative type of emotions. Then lastly, the appetitive soul is located in the abdomen, appetite or the physical appetite. So this is the part of the soul that drives the human to experience physical pain, hunger, thirst, and other physical wants. So if the reason is the superior type of our soul, the appetitive soul or the physical appetite soul is considered to be the primitive. Um, the major function of the appetitive soul is to survive. So, with these classifications of the soul, Plato believed that our soul is bestowed with intelligence. So, why people show aggressive tendencies or behavior? Plato believed that because they are not governed by their rational mind, they are not thinking properly. Like, for example, the government implemented policy like they implemented lockdown, quarantine to the entire nation or to some parts of the Philippines. If you're not governed by your rational soul, you will not be able to understand the reason or the rationale why they have to implement that drastic policy because our freedom is being suppressed. We are not allowed to go out. Many people lost their job. So it will affect your behavior. You will act negatively. If you are dominated with a rational soul, let's say you lost your job because of the lockdown. So if you are governed by the reason, you will think of another way to provide for your family. Nakakatuwa or it's good to hear that there are several Filipinos or people who able to look for another source of income. So some of them become online seller. So they able to think of alternative on how to provide for their family. So in case that you will be dominated by the physical appetite, you lost your job, of course, you cannot provide for your family, you're hungry, you will think of a solution which is not considered to be good, like You stole money to buy food for your family, to satiate your hunger. So according to Plato, a well-balanced personality or self will be attained if the rational soul can control and harmonize the spiritual and appetitive souls. This topic or these principles also applicable in the theory of Sigmund Freud, in which he classified the types of our personality. The reason is considered to be the ego. The physical appetite is the id, which is governed by the pleasure principle, and the spirit or passion is governed by the superego or the conscience. Okay, next is Aristotle. So the soul is the essence of self, man as rational animal. So Aristotle was the first systematic philosophical view whose writings sought to integrate the biological, psychological, social, and political dimensions of life. That's why he's more naturalistic than idealistic like Plato and Socrates. Unlike Plato, he don't believe that the self is solely governed by the soul. So being the pioneer of biology, he is mindful about the influence of our body with the way we think. So he believed that the soul and the body are functioning complementarily. So whatever the mind perceives, the body will react. He was also a follower of Charles Darwin, wherein he believed that human beings are a form of animals. So he defined man as a rational animal that separate us from other living things. Same with his mentor Plato, he believed that our soul can be classified into three types or three kinds. So he believed that the soul can be divided into vegetative, sentient, and rational souls. The vegetative comprises of parts of our body, physical body that can grow. The sentient would be comprised by the emotions, feelings, sensual desires, and other um, aspects of the emotion. Whereas the rational, this is what makes man human. So it includes the intellect that allows man to know and understand things. And these three kinds of our soul will undergo changes because he believed that change is inevitable part of life. Na change is necessary in order for us to develop and to grow. When there is change, that is for the betterment of the self and of the person, of course. Like, di ba, our body underwent physical changes from infancy to old age. Same with our emotions and, of course, our intellectual capacity. So, another philosophy of Aristotle, he believed that to live a good and flourishing and fulfilling life. In order to attain that, he believed that we have to live a simple life. So it is important to live a life in moderation. The self must know the limits of his being in order to be happy. The pursuit of happiness is search for good life that includes virtuous actions, which is also similar to the philosophy of Socrates. The next is René Descartes. So he was the father of modern philosophy because he promoted the development of a new perspective grounded in observation and experimentation. So he was famous to his dictum, I think, therefore I am, or cogito ergo sum, meaning when you are thinking, then you exist. So you cannot question your existence if you are thinking rationally. Another meaning of this dictum, if you are thinking negatively, that will somehow influence your behavior. If you are thinking negatively, that will show to your behavior. You will become, you will have low self-esteem. You will think that you cannot do it because you are questioning your capabilities. So it is really important to think positively because somehow we are um, we can influence the energies around us. If you're thinking negatively or positively, then you are sending that to the universe. If we are to compare Plato, Aristotle, and Descartes, Plato is to be considered as realist. So, believing the existence of something that is beyond material, like believing that the fundamental essence of our existence is the soul, which is immortal. So, he believed the existence of reincarnation. So he believed that after we die, our soul, which is immortal, will be transferred to another body. And then Aristotle is moderately realist. He also believed that we have a soul, but he also acknowledged the importance of the body. So he believed that the soul and the body are connected. While Descartes is to be considered as a rationalist. So it is more scientific, and he believed the non-existence of the soul, since the soul is something that we cannot see, so it is not tangible. Descartes also famous to his philosophy about Cartesian dualism, in which the brain and the mind are separate entities. So according to him, brain and mind are not the same. So the brain serves as a connection between the mind and the body. So mind is indivisible, whereas the body is something that can be changed. Like you can cut your hair, but you cannot reduce your mind. However, presently that philosophy is no longer applicable. So we cannot consider that the brain and the mind are separate entities, because in medical world, the brain and the mind are somehow interrelated. So whatever happened to the brain, that will somehow affect the mind. Like for example, for those people who are suffering from um, Alzheimer's disease or severe memory loss. So they have that kind of a problem or medical problem because of the damage in the brain. So there is a damage in the cerebellum or the little brain, since it regulates our coordination, our movement. So that will affect our the person will suffer from cerebral palsy, which is they have problems when it comes in coordinating their body movement. So in short, it is the brain and the mind are really interrelated. So whatever happened to the brain, that will definitely affect the mind. Then next, he believed that human soul has two dimensions, the thinking self and the physical body. So unlike with Plato, Socrates, they believe that the soul is synonymous to the self. For for Rene Descartes, since he believed the inexistence of the soul, he considered the the thinking self as the soul. So it is the non-material, immortal, conscious being and independent of the physical laws of the universe. Whereas the physical body is a material, mortal, non-thinking entity fully governed by the physical laws of nature. So somehow this is related to Cartesian dualism, that the mind and the brain, of course the body, are separate entities. The next is John Locke. So the self is consciousness. So Locke was the first to define self through a continuity of consciousness. So he postulated that at birth, our mind was a blank slate or tabula rasa. He stated that we are born without innate ideas and knowledge of who we are, not until we experience it. So unlike with Plato, in which he believed the existence of hereditary factors, John Locke believed about the influence of environmental factors. Locke believed that we don't have innate potentialities, and the development of the self will be started when we experience different situations. If we're going to compare Descartes and Locke, Descartes is a rationalist, while Locke is more of empiricist. So we have to experience it before we gain knowledge and learning and to learn something. If you'll answer the question, is experience is the best teacher? For Locke, yes. But to other philosophers, it is not. It is not enough to have experiences, but the most important is is how we reflect and evaluate those experiences so that we can identify the wisdom and the knowledge from it. Of course, in reality, there are some things that you don't have to experience it before you can learn from it. Parang you can just use your common sense. Common sense. You don't have to experience it before you can learn something on it.